Hey everybody, this is Jenny Clark with Solvability. We got another session today of Freedom Friday. Our guest today is Bob Dixon, who called me or reached out to me a long time ago when he was still on active duty. He said, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do when I get out. And when he told me all the things that he's interested in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to keep up. I want to see what you're doing. He was very involved in several things, Synapse, right?
Right.
And anyway, I'm going to let Bob introduce himself and talk to you guys a little bit about his new company and what he is doing. So take it away, Bob.
Thanks so much, Jane. I tell you, it's been tremendous getting to know you and seeing what you've been doing with yourself and with all of your friends and all the connections that you make and help make among other people. Thank you for that and for what you do. Like Jenny said, I met her about it's been almost a year now, as I was working I was actually in a fellowship program as I transitioned out of the military, and I was working with the nonprofit organization here in Tampa called Synapse, which is the purpose of which is to help the startup community and the innovation community in Tampa and across Florida really thrive. And it was such a cool place to hang out and meet the most innovative people. And at the same time, I'm also meeting veterans and veteran-owned small businesses and seeing the kind of nexus between the two groups, but there's not as much crossover between the two of them. And there's some, but not as much as I'd love to see. So I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do when I grow up after 27 years in the military. And I just know I have this passion for innovation, and I have a passion for small business. I have a passion for veterans. Can I combine those three things in some way to create value? I got to spend last fall and winter with Synapse. After my fellowship ended, they hired me on to help them put on their big live event. And I got to do that. It was a wonderful experience. And I met many, many veteran-owned small businesses and helped them participate at Synapse. And we got more veteran participation in terms of panels and veteran-focused material in sessions. So that was, to me, a really great thing to be part of. After that, I left Synapse to go work with one of the startups. It wasn't a veteran-owned small business, but it was a startup that was ready to scale. And I took over as the chief operating officer of this wonderful little company about March 1st. Now, if you look at March 1st, 2020, it's kind of a bellwether moment. And I lasted about 4 months there before we realized that the COVID is going to take over more of our options than what I can offer. So I left that startup, and I thought, well, you know, if I'm going to try to build a business in this environment, I think I'm going to build my own. And it's those things that I was passionate about, that I've always been passionate about: this innovation, this leadership, this learning, and small business. How do I combine all those things? And out of that came ARETE. Now, ARETE is a word that I fell in love with when I first read it in a book about philosophy. It's introduced in Plato, and it means excellence. It's sometimes translated as virtue, but in ancient Greece, excellence was a virtue. It was trying to be good, not just at one thing, but at life itself. And I thought, what a great metaphor for what we want to do for companies. It's good to have this one thing that you're really good at, but if you can't do the other things that make your business great all at the same time, you're going to lag. You're not going to see your potential. And that's what I want to do, is help companies reach their full potential by being excellent in many different aspects.
Well, Bob, I'm so glad
that's the introduction to how I got started.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you're, let me switch this. That you brought all of this up, because I just felt like, you know, this is somebody that's on the same path. And I think a lot of the people that are on the call with me today have that same kind of dedication to veterans, to entrepreneurship, to small business. And what can we do to help them be more successful and reach a higher level of excellence? Because even Alan Elliott and I were having a great conversation, because look at his background in there. And Alan, I'm going to throw you on for a minute and let you tell people what it says. You got to unmute.
Sorry. So the picture behind me, it says, "Be afraid of mediocrity." And the small letters says, "Starring ambition, greatness, and excellence." Okay. So what that means is never get complacent. Always strive to push forward, push yourself to grow, even in aspects where you think that, you've reached your plateau. Keep striving, keep moving, and keep going.
Okay, well, back to you, Bob. Let's have you talk some more about what you're wanting to do. I keep flipping this back the wrong way. Anyway, tell us some more about excellence and how you're going to execute excellence, Bob.
So there's a couple different aspects of how you help people become more excellent, right? And whenever I say it like that, I feel like it's Bob and Ted's Excellent Adventure, like let's be excellent to each other. The biggest aspect, I think, particularly in small businesses, is there's so many innovative, very, very smart people who understand their product, their widget, their service, their app, whatever that is, but they don't know how to fit that in the context of their business and make that grow. So for any business, you've got basically, there's three aspects of it that every business has. You have your sales and marketing, that's an umbrella. You have your admin and finance that keeps the things running. And then you have your operations that delivers the stuff that sales and marketing is selling. And if you have those three things operating in synchronicity, great things can happen. If you're really good at operations because you know how to build your widget and you don't have those other two, you're going to fail at some point. And that's why so many businesses have trouble with this. The next thing that people struggle with, I think, is as they start to scale and they start to realize, hey, I can outsource some of this admin and finance, I can outsource some of the sales and marketing. That's fine, but who's pulling it together? And at some point you start to scale. When you're a small, scrappy business, there's 5 of you in a garage somewhere. That's pretty easy to have a board meeting where everybody's involved and the entire organization knows what you're doing. What happens when you got 20 people? Can you bring 20 people into your garage, or you're going to have to think about how do you inform all of your people? By the way, now you're starting to build tiers. You've got people working for people. How does that function? And how do you, as an entrepreneur, become a leader? And a lot of people confuse leadership with just being the boss, right? I can tell people what to do. But leadership is really about inspiring people to be their best.
Where did Bob go? Where did Bob go?
Bob needs to do some consulting with Frontier Communications and get them to turn my internet back on, I think. It's unfortunate timing. So if you can help leaders become better leaders, and I have a process that I help coach leaders through that. And I'll tell you, there's different levels of leadership. The first-time supervisor may be the toughest job anywhere. The first time that you're asked to be in charge and responsible and take care of these people to achieve a mission together, that's hard. And in most cases, we don't select people to be the leader of an organization because of their leadership skills. We do it because of their technical skills. In the Army, as I was working at the Corps of Engineers in Little Rock, we would take the best engineer in our design shop and make him the design chief. That wasn't always the best choice because that guy was really extremely introverted and was great at design. Boy, that guy could draw a building and draw a bridge or whatever it is he needed to draw. He could do that, but he sure didn't want to deal with the people around him, and he sure as heck didn't want to deal with the administrivia that it takes to run an organization. Instead, we said, you know what, we're going to give you a promotion as a technical guy, and how about we put this other guy who wants to do the leadership thing, and we'll coach that person to be a leader. So selection is really important. And then giving them tools, mentoring folks in their first job as a supervisor is so essential. Same thing happens, by the way, when the first time you're in a C-suite. It's intimidating. You're walking out like, oh my gosh, they let me sit at the grown-up table. Okay. What are the things that are different at the strategic level? So I run some workshops that go into the aspects of strategic leadership, strategic thinking, leading change, leading others. And in the strategic thinking realm, I propose that there are 3 aspects of that. It's thinking in terms of systems, set your problem in its context. You need critical thinking to truly understand your problem. And then you need some creative thinking to come up with novel solutions. And there's workshops on how to get better at all those three kinds of thinking to be a better strategic thinker and lead your organization to your vision. So that's kind of our offering right now. We're working on that.
Well, I think it's very interesting, Bob, what you're talking about, because everybody's looking for, I want to do this and I really don't want to do that. How do I build a team? And I really think that that's part of the reason we are all on this call, because we each have our certain level of talents. It's like, hey, if I could get somebody else to help me out with that, I would do it in a heartbeat, which is why I have Tracy Sheps taking care of different things for accounting. I've got I've got Chris McPhee, who's the camera guy. What we're all talking about is how do we almost create a bridge for all of us to be able to walk over that bridge into a community of trust where we know whatever path we want to go, there's somebody there to help us along and slide us over to the right place, and everybody finds a place in the community that they belong. So Bob, what is the next thing that's on your list with ARETE?
Right now, I'm finishing up some of the intellectual content. I hope to have a book out by around the first of the year on strategic thinking and kind of outlining my idea about how to make better strategic leaders. So that's what I'm kind of pouring myself into right now. And we should start offering more workshops in the winter or spring. And frankly, I'm doing a lot of pro bono work on helping people right now and then testing out my materials. So that's where I'm at right now. I've really only been at it since July, and I'm really, really excited about the opportunities that are out in front right now.
Well, I'm so excited about what you're talking about, because whatever stage anybody is on their entrepreneurial journey, they still have a lot of the same common things going on. And what you're talking about is a lot like what Emily Harmon's been going through. I'm always amazed at how quickly people move out that have that military background. And Emily's already got an entire movement going, and she's been doing podcasting. Emily, could you come on and talk a little bit about what kind of decision processes you had to go through to make that work?
Well, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. And not hard, but it's, just time consuming. And there are definitely times when I think you guys can all relate on the call where you're like, am I headed down the right path? Is this really worth it? When am I going to see my first paying client? And I sometimes we just need to be able to give ourselves a break, which is hard for me. But I retired in May of 2019, but I really count that I just started working on my business in April of 2020, because the first year that I had retired, my kid's dad died. So I was taking care of a lot of that. So when I think about it, I just have to give myself a break. So it's good to have people like this, calls like this, people like, Jenny, and you guys that are on my side, and you can reach out to them when you're feeling a little down, because we all sometimes get that way. You have these like, yes, everything's going to work out. And then the next day, oh, that happened. So have a team of supporters around you.
Well, that's a really important point.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah. You think, oh, I'm on the right track. This is great. Tomorrow, everyone's going to sign up for this program. And then, things don't happen the way you thought. So, I just keep going. I've listened to podcasts and I've talked to people, and the people that make it are the ones that, oh, is my video off? Yeah. The people that make it are the ones that keep going even through that tough time, because all these people that are making it, they've experienced what we've experienced too. And they didn't give up. They were persistent. So don't give up.
So Bob, talk to us a little bit about your vision of, let's pretend that we're looking back we're going 3 years ahead, and we're looking back at this conversation today and how it was a game changer for everybody in this call. What would it have looked like? What's your vision?
I think 3 years from now, I'm looking back and I have balanced my lifestyle with my job in a way that has kept my family sane and kept us solvent. The business itself is thriving on referrals. I don't spend a lot of money on marketing because the work that I do has quality. And that quality then translates to referrals. And so I have serial jobs lined up. It's sometimes difficult if I have to turn somebody down or put them on a wait list because our business is in that demand. That's what happens 3 years from now, and I'm looking back.
Well, I think that's a great thing to have. And I know that I have been saying for 20 years, I wish that people would just call me and offer me work. And it doesn't seem to be happening. So that's why I created this elaborate methodology of creating Govcon Summit, a platform we could find everybody, because everybody's got these same common issues. Ashley, do you mind just talking about some of the ups and downs you've run into? Wait a second, I got to make you so you're in the middle. Okay, now I can hear you. I can't hear you.
Can't hear her.
Try it again. Still can't hear you. Sorry. Okay, well, I'm just going to interpret what she did because she's going to give me sign language. She's going to go, I was really up, and then I was really down, and now I'm okay, right? Could you do another couple signs for us? All right. Back to you, Bob.
Well, I one of the things that I thought about a lot for a focus for us is coming out of a big government bureaucracy like the Corps of Engineers, is there's such a need for leadership, and the leadership development programs that exist inside for the civilians within the Corps of Engineers are pretty good. But there's a lot of agencies that don't have those. And I thought, maybe going after federal contracts for leadership development. And then I started poking around that and trying to get in SAMs, and I started realizing how really hard it was to get into the system and get functioning in that way, and to have the capacity to fill out a proposal in response to a request for that. And I knew it was hard because I saw it from the government side as a Corps of Engineers officer. But I didn't realize how much that really hurt small businesses. There is an incredible amount of regulation that we have to know about if we're going to go after those government contracts. And something I stumbled on a little while ago, I said, there's some great writings throughout history. The Pythagorean theorem was 24 words long. The Lord's Prayer is 66 words. Archimedes' Principle, 67. 10 Commandments, 179 words. Gettysburg Address is 286 words. The Declaration of Independence is 1,300 words. The U.S. government regulation on the sale of cabbage is 26,911 words. It's nearly impossible for us who are 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 deep to know all of the regulations, policies, procedures. And so the work that Jenny's doing in terms of educating people and helping people navigate the 26,911 words, if you happen to be wanting to sell cabbage to the government, that is so essential, because we're not going to be able to do it alone. So this network of people that are going through similar struggles, I think is really essential.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I call that the group brain. I can't know everybody, everything, but if I know enough people, I can come into a group and it's almost like we're doing crowdsourcing. I thought it was interesting what you were talking about is getting registered in SAMs, because it is a pain in the neck. And then the other thing is you got to figure out how they buy, because some of this stuff could be brought over a credit card and it's just no big deal, but it's trying to figure out what you want to sell and how you want to sell it. And I also think that you should talk to Leon Jablo, who's also on here, about how he's doing it, because it would make more sense to be part of a group that are trying to do it than to try to do it on your own, because there's just too darn much overhead in the sales process inside federal contracting. So, just wanted to, before I get you to summarize and give your contact information, want to talk about Govcon Summit. It's going to be in April. It's blocked out for 2 weeks. I don't really think we're going to be online for 2 solid weeks, but the whole idea is to bring a lot of people with different thoughts and different ideas together to talk to each other. Because so often the big trade shows and other activities are dominated by deep pockets. And what I want to do is get all of us that have great ideas and a lot of energy together to share. So what I'm doing this year that's different from last year, first off, it's going to be online, which is a big challenge to begin with. I've got 6 of us that are writing a book, and Emily Harmon is one of those. She's going to be talking about authenticity. Then I've got everybody else will be coming in. I want to have breakouts and things like that. So I'm looking for ideas. I'm sending out surveys to find out what people want. And then I'm setting it up so that people can join my Alliance member for $1,000 now. And you'll be able to get, I'm going to have monthly group calls between now and then, but that's going to include the Govcon Summit. So it's a way to get active now and be a part of this community. If you believe that we are basically a virtual chamber of commerce for entrepreneurs that happen to love and support veterans, and whatever we do for entrepreneurship and small business to make it all happen, just imagine if we can help a few small businesses that would not be successful either succeed, or we make them 5% better, how many jobs get created by that activity? So Bob, you're an innovator. I know you've got ideas on how to do this. How do people get in touch with you if they want to hear more about what you're doing? And by the way, how do I draft you onto my team?
So I've got a website that's in draft right now at arete-strategies.com. I can be emailed at bdixon@aretestrategies.com, or my number is 813-641-4691. And I know you're recording this, so people can play that back if I said it too quickly. But listen, I love to talk to people who are trying to get to the next level and see how maybe I can help them steer through some of the obstacles that are in their way, or create their vision so that they can figure out where am I going to be, and then what's my plan to get there, and who are the teammates I need to bring along with me, and how do I make all of those people the most effective that they can be. I love to have a passion for it. Very, very excited about where we're going. And frankly, I'm impressed every day by the men and women that I meet that are entrepreneurs and innovators and have the courage to say, hey, there's a problem. I've got a great idea about how to solve it, and I'm going to do something about it. It's just remarkable, and that's a great American spirit of, I'm not just going to let that problem stand. I'm going to go solve it, and I'm going to build a business around that, and I think it's amazing.
Well, I really like your approach with that, and the idea that you're also going to get the work-life balance you want. COVID forced us into a lot of things we didn't plan to do, but I also many times question, could I possibly even work for another company anyway, because I'm not really very disciplined. But nonetheless, I feel like you've given a lot of insight today, Bob, with what you're talking